These paintings are looking so nice.
I know, are we doing great?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we keep going here. So now that I've got that done, I'm done with all my soft focus stuff. Now I got to start doing some more serious painting, right? Where I'm going to work on the page dry with my colors. Okay. So I'm going to use a round watercolor brush. This is a number 5. A 4 would be fine, or a 5. I'm just having the tape at the side. Although it looks like somebody's been using this, so I guess I can.
Yes.
That's great about being in an art studio, right?
It's just a big piece of monument.
Yep. So now I'm painting kind of the side and also drawing on the shade side because the snow's on top, but there's also some branches that I see, right? So you have to decide how loose or exact you want to be. Like that suits your style. Some of you may be more loose, more suggestive of how you want to paint. So I'm using a dark blue. And so this is going to show up so that you see the snow's on top and we want to draw the branch that's underneath the snow. Like look at, let me see. Right, there's little dark bits.
How intense is that paint that you're using? That's pretty intense. Just a little bit of water.
Yeah, it's mostly paint.
Yeah.
Watercolor paint should always be fluid though, never thick, never like acrylic or latex paint.
So you
needs
Oh yeah.
Needs to flow and absorb into the page.
Class, so.
Oh wow, you're taking so many things.
I'm taking a lot of things.
You've got some
All at
plans
once.
for yourself, don't you?
Yeah, I
And
did.
you're practicing them all?
I'm ambitious, a little bit.
Now,
Wow.
Here. And I can also, as I come into the inside of the tree, there's some different branches and stuff going on in there. I could have some different colors in there. A little bit of violet. Maybe. So that you really want to look at the reference pictures now to look, what does that look like? I have some detail in there. And vary the colors a bit.
You take it, have you taken it off?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I'm going to paint
Yeah.
the dark on the dry page where I'm painting these branches sitting underneath the snow.
How long are we going to stay?
I'd say till 5 and then be done. Okay, is that all right?
You think we can finish? It's already after 4.
I think we can. So we got some dark blue and a little bit of violet in there.
Do you do all your teaching here?
I teach at the Guelph School of Art, and this is a Guelph School of Art class, but it's held at Necessary Arts because it's an accessible space. We always like to have a few courses where it's a little bit easier because Guelph School of Art has a huge set of stairs that not everybody can do. And we like to have the odd drawing or painting class in some facility where it's a little easier to access it.
Yeah.
So sometimes we use 10 Carden Street, which has a ramp, and here at Necessary Arts, where I have my studio, we have an elevator. So,
Teresa, how did you hear about this course? Being in the room. How did you hear about this course?
This course? I know I found it on the internet. Nobody told me.
You were
I hadn't heard about it, and I just saw it. Was it in the papers at all?
I don't know.
No.
No. So somehow you
I
heard about
just,
it and decided to come. No, glad
Oh,
you
I
came.
know what it is. I get a newsletter from Wyndham Arts.
Oh.
That's how it was.
So you can see that takes some patience. I got to do that, and then let's see what else I would do. So I'm going to keep doing that with this, right? And let's see, like inside here too, do you see how there's kind of different tones inside the shadow? So I need to create some of that. So how might I do that? Let's have a look at that. And some of this I'm going to have to do once I take the masking fluid off as well. That we're going to do some shading on top of that so that it kind of sits in well. So I want maybe some violet inside the shadows as well as some blues. And I want to make it really dark underneath where the masking fluid is. So part of it is I'm painting what's inside, underneath there. The other thing is I have to say, oh, I have to paint the actual tree branch, the needles, right? Just right underneath the snow here, right? Because we can see just a little bit of those needles as they come out. So we really need to look at our pictures carefully. What do, instead of just making it up, what do they look like? And occasionally we can see just the dark branches coming out the side, right? One sticking out in behind. We want these trees to have some depth, that they're round, they're not flat, right? So it just takes detail. So I think that, you know, I don't know that you've yet finished today. You might want to keep working on this at home, depending on how much detail you like. If you're a loose painter, you can get finished, but you might be somebody who likes a little more detail, so you can take your time and take a little longer at it. Now this one. So here's some more. This tree here. And I want some teal color. This one's tucked in behind, and there's a softer tone. Would have been good to have darker back here, actually, behind this. So it's patience, isn't it?
Restless?
A little bit.
It's a long day.
It is. It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to have some strong shadows under here. So really look at the reference pictures to help you figure out how would that look. And I want to get some of that snow that's sitting underneath there, right? Dark. Do better. So just takes patience. So what I might suggest to people, like I've said in our courses at GSA, sometimes, you know, we do what we can during class, but reading just takes time. But if you want to, yeah, it is. If you want to, you know, go home, keep working on it, and come to my open studio on Saturdays here at Necessary Arts, 11 till 3, $15, and you can bring your painting back that you've worked on at home, or come and work on it here and be able to ask a few questions. It's not a class, but I'm here working with other students and I can give you a little bit of input. And it also keeps you working, doesn't it? Makes you make the commitment. I'm going to finish that and then see, you know, does Karen have any advice, right? So I just have to keep working on that. The other thing I have to do is maybe something with the snow, don't I? let's have you guys paint those trees a little bit.
A little pink shadows.
Yeah, because we want to do a bit of the pink. We got to get some shadows, you know, and then we have to take the masking fluid off and see what to do. So could you spend the next 15 minutes, maybe, painting the trees? 15 minutes to paint the trees. It's okay if you don't get them done, but work on one at least to get the technique, and I can look at what you're doing. Then I'm going to take the masking fluid off and show you what to do next, okay? So, and anybody that's watching this, I'm just going to keep painting so you can watch and follow along. Of how would I approach this tree? Oh, big glove.
You know, artists, I would really say something. It's sort of my own thing.
Me too.
But
But you know what was really neat though? All my sisters now also paint.
yeah,
I'm the youngest, and they didn't paint before, but they all paint now, and they're all really good. One's an acrylic painter, and the other girl, she just tries a bit of everything, and she's good at just about anything she does. She's one of those interesting people, like where she's an accountant, but she's really good at art too. Both right and left brain. So keep in mind the colors in your painting. Like if you've got more violet in your painting, you might want more violet into the trees, or a color that looks really great with violet. Maybe you want to be a little bit more greenish than mine is, right? Kind of look at your painting and say, what would look good here, right? So we're taking inspiration from these photos from nature, but we can decide a little bit for ourselves how we want that to look. Have you seen how this painter here, Meredith Blackmore, you know, she'll see these bright red highlights in the shoe that you don't necessarily see in the photo, but they look amazing in her painting, right? So you can take a little creative leeway and say, what would look good on my painting? So, I don't think it matters a lot what kind of brush you use, but I really like sable brushes. Some people like using blend brushes where there's a bit of sable, a bit of synthetic. I think it depends on the type of artist you are. You can get great results with synthetic brushes, especially if you're a looser painter. For me, I prefer a sable brush. I find I get a little more control.
do you think one of those script liner or rigger, whatever things would be good for this kind of piece?
They're absolutely fantastic and needed for deciduous trees, but I don't think they're as essential for coniferous trees. I would just use the point of a typical watercolor brush. do try to show up where the trunk in the middle of the tree is to give the tree a bit of structure. And then one of the things I'm doing as I come forward in my painting and doing some of the foreground smaller trees, I'm shifting the color that I'm using to be a little more aqua, a little bit bluer, and not as dark. Can I show you guys a couple of things just for a couple of minutes? It might give you some ideas. So just to give you some thoughts about how you might approach painting the trees now that you've tried it a little bit, right? So it'll give you some tips about how to move your brush and stuff, right? So it can be a challenge sometimes. How do we manipulate the brush to give us a fine enough line, right? So here's a few.
Is that centered? I may have kicked the chair.
Yeah, maybe just stand back a bit to not the a little bit closer. Just don't wiggle the chair, okay?
All right.
Because then it wiggles the lens. All right. So I've got some. Oops, that's darker than I want. Indigo blue, right? Maybe I'll add a little bit of teal to it. Okay. So, and I've wiped my brush on the side a bit so that I get a nice point. So that I want to just sort of roll it a bit so it comes to a nice point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm painting, that if I'm going to start at the top, I want to ease onto the page really lightly. Because if you start, you might push too hard. So another thing you could do instead is start at the middle, where the tree branch is going to be a little thicker, and then pull up and out. And one of the things I'm doing is I'm leaning on my elbow. Let's see, just zoom out just a little bit. So I'm leaning on my elbow a little here so that when I'm working on here, I'm not pushing on my paintbrush point, right? So then I don't get too thick of a line that my tree. So you see, I'm kind of not putting any pressure on my brush. I've got the weight on my elbow so that I can pull very gently to get some detail. And I'm painting next to, just on the shade side or the underside of the masking fluid I put on. Plus, sometimes we can, not every branch is covered with snow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one tip, that I don't want a really wet brush. I pre-wet it, I wipe it off just a bit, maybe roll it so it comes to a nice point, and start at the center and pull out, right? Really not putting any pressure on your brush so you can get those fine, needly kind of tips, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like to vary the color a little bit to keep it interesting as well, so it doesn't feel like stiff and solid, right? And I also like, as I'm coming down, kind of changing the pressure on my brush as well. So near the tips, I want to be really light, but I'm trying to get a sense of the, I don't know, uneven nature of coniferous trees. I'm also sort of pushing and pulling and not keeping a consistent pressure on the brush. Okay, so that can help. And then as I come down the tree, it starts to get pretty dark, right? So let's zoom in again. So as we go down a tree, it gets really dark inside there, but there's some variety to the color. So I might want to use more than one color. So get a little bit of water in the brush, maybe pick up a bit of violet or a teal green or something, and put in a wash and be just pushing down on the brush now instead of using it, and kind of wiggling a little, kind of up against where we have some of the masking fluid. Pull in underneath, start to draw some shape now, underside of that. And then into that violet, I might want to throw a little bit of teal green and give it a bit of variety. And then pull it up a little bit so Seems like it's connecting.
The first time you put that color in there, it blends in with everything.
Oh, I've been using it elsewhere. Yeah, if I want, one thing I can do, and I'm going to show you here and here, for some of that texture inside the tree, I could add a little bit of salt. Not much, just a sprinkle, and it'll do a little bit of, to kind of, you see when we come down, it gets quite full in here. The base of a coniferous tree has quite a lot of branching and needles underneath that don't have the snow on them. Like deep inside, it's dark, right? So the salt could help us do that. There's another way. I might say, I think actually I'm going to start with some teal, a little bit watery teal. And so I've got some of my branches masked off that are coming forward. And then there's this fullness inside the tree that has texture of branches coming towards me, right? So I'm going to put my lighter color on. It's more, a little bluer, a little lighter, because this tree's forward. These ones are behind, so they're maybe darker. This one's a little bit brighter in its color. And then I could maybe take either some dark blue or some violet and dab. Make some uneven texture in there. So it helps us look like the branches are coming forward. And if you like what the salt does, you can throw a little pinch of salt onto that to get a bit of texture happening in there. Okay. So that's another way you could handle some of that. You want to go try a little bit more? Okay. Oh, watch the cords there.
Not myself, but
All right. So now I've got this tree off to the side that's falling apart a little. I need to give it some structure. So I'm going to add a bit of my teal blue. I don't want it to be too strong. I don't want it to be distracting. But just to give it a little bit of hanging together here. Just putting some darks underneath what I've masked off a bit. Looking off to the side. And a little bit of indigo blue, a bit stronger here and there. Just going to pull it off. Pull away into the right side. And I want some more teal again. And we're going to get this tree to be a little bit fuller at the base.
That really is somewhere.
That's it. I think
green's right over here.
Is that?
It's right there, but that's.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna take a break from this and we'll come back to do some more.